they're going to get back on the ball. They're ready to go. Maybe on 3rd and 5, usually this team's going to pass. All the tendencies that we've studied all week say 93% pass. But in this game, we understand they're going. Yeah, they go a lot, but they might be going even more like they did last night against San Francisco. This might be a run situation. Maybe Gibbs is a little closer to the quarterback than he normally would be on 3rd down. Those are all the little things that they're going to be tapped into. Brian Flores is going to be talking about it. Position groups are going to be talking about different things to read, because when you play these teams that go for it on 4th down, you have to be ready. And I think Minnesota has a little bit of an advantage because they're in your division. You play them twice a year. You talk about this each time you've played them over the last few years of they're going to go for it on 4th down. So it's not as much of a surprise for you because your guys are not hearing it for the first time. They've heard it. If guys have been there for years now, they've heard it over and over again. So I think Minnesota's defense won't be caught off guard as some of these other teams are when you play Detroit, because, yeah, you talk about it over and over again during the week, but until you get in it, until your emotions have to kind of be handled from 3rd down to 4th down, you're not as prepared. But Minnesota has done that time and time again, and I think they'll be more prepared than some other teams would be going against the Detroit Lions.
You mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs. He had a big night last night, 117 rushing yards on 18 carries, with David Montgomery still out due to the MCL injury. 1 rushing touchdown, 4 receptions, 46 yards. And we were talking on Sunday about the impact of not having Montgomery. Gibbs has shown that he can step up and get it done. He has shown he can carry the load by himself. But the other aspect of this offense, as we look at some of the things that Gibbs was able to do last night, I mean, he's like shot out of a cannon sometimes when he gets that ball in his hands. But, you know, the other aspect of the offense, Devin, is, and this was the great touchdown run at the end, this was the backbreaker, this was the icing on the cake when he just exploded down the right sideline with less than 3 minutes to play. The emergence of Jameson Williams is a guy that you better be damn sure you know where he is everywhere. And we talked about that Sunday night, that Ben Johnson last week commenting on the fact that he's finally got to the point where he's clicking with Jared Goff. You know, he's missed time, rookie season, didn't play until week 12 because he was coming off the ACL tear from the bowl game. He was suspended the first 4 games of 2023 with that violation of the stupid NFL gambling policy that you can make the bet if you're standing on the street outside the facility, but if you make the bet inside the facility, thou shalt not, and you're suspended 4 games. This year he had a 2-game suspension for violation of one of the NFL's other policies. I think it was PED, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't sue me, Jameson. And now, you know, he had a career game against the Bears last week. Last night, he had 5 catches, 77 yards, a receiving touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown. He's dangerous, and you better account for him. And that forces you to defend every blade of grass. And then there's Amon-Ra St. Brown, who just kind of gets forgotten. Like, he just goes about his business. He catches the ball when it comes his way. He kicks your ass whenever he gets a chance. And he's not one of the first guys you think of in that offense because he gladly takes whatever role they ask him to play.
It's so true. I mean, even this play that's on screen right now, like, they put him in that position to catch the ball and pitch it back to Jameson Williams. He's the most trusted guy out there on that offense. And I think Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, that's what they build this team on. They build this team on the way Amon-Ra St. Brown plays. Whether he has 10 catches, whether he has 15, 16 targets, it never changes the way he plays the game. It doesn't change the fact that he's going to come down, he's going to come and crack the safety in the run game. He's going to be the guy they throw to so he can pitch it back. He's going to do the things that gain touchdowns, but he's also going to do the things that don't show up in the stat sheet and go down there and block guys and go and give it 110% no matter if he's hurt or any of that thing. That Detroit Lions team is built on guys like him. And going back to Jameson Williams, he looks like a guy who's also taken the next step in the Ben Johnson playbook. Even after the game, when they talked to him, he talked about, I'm always talking to Ben Johnson all the time. I'm always asking him questions. He's telling me different things of what he sees. He now looks like that guy that Ben Johnson can say, hey, we ran this reverse with you. Now we're going to run you this way, bring you back that way. Then we're going to give you – he's involved in a lot more of these plays that – you have to be really in tune to the playbook and what's going on. He just seems like as a young player, he's taking that next step of Ben Johnson saying, hey, you got to be one of those guys that when we draw up plays, we give it to you. When we need you to run by a guy, we give it to you. When we need to convert a big third down on you catching an in cut with the DB draped over your body, we're going to throw it to you. Like, he seems like he's turning into that guy. And I think the scary thing with playing Detroit's offense now is you got St. Brown, you got Jameson Williams. Oh, yeah, you forget about Sam Laporta, and then you get in the red zone and he runs a beautiful angle route and scores a touchdown. It's just so many different guys. I mean, Allen Robinson got in there on a big conversion and caught a ball down the sideline. And it's like, wait, who's number 8 again? And then you realize that's Allen Robinson, of another veteran receiver that you can trust. They just have so many different guys that they're seeming like they're trusting in this offense to go make plays, which makes them very hard to defend.
Yeah, I think Tim Patrick popped up with a 2-point conversion reception. He's had games with multiple touchdowns. They do have so many guys, and because of that offensive line, we got to give the offensive line credit, because when an offense is doing well, the fundamental reason is the 5 guys up front are doing their job. We saw the Vikings and Sam Darnold have a ton of time against a great Green Bay front on Sunday, and we constantly see Jared Goff with more than enough time to operate, Jahmyr Gibbs with more than enough room to run, David Montgomery, when he's there, more than enough room to run. And they keep trotting out these funky plays. I don't know if you noticed last night. They did one where it was a fake reverse to Penei Sewell, who came around in motion, not in motion pre-snap, but he swung back around for a fake reverse, which tells you, get ready, because there's not going to be a fake reverse. And there was a play earlier in this year where they gave it to Sewell, and it looked like he was getting ready to throw a pass. So they don't hold anything back. They're always pushing the envelope. It was the stumble bum play last week against the Bears, and that's part of what Brian Flores needs to be thinking about as well coming up for Sunday, and every playoff opponent needs to be thinking about it as well. Where's the next one going to come from? When are they going to do the thing they've already done before? It just overwhelms you. It has to, from a preparation standpoint.
And I could hear Brian Flores he was my coach for years in the wing. I could hear him saying, guys, don't worry about studying all the trick plays that they've run, because the one that they run, we haven't seen it yet. They're going to do something we haven't seen. It's just Ben Johnson is doing a great job of every single week seem like he has maybe 4 to 5, who knows how many on the call sheet, but they're plays off of something they've done before, but it's different. So I remember being a player and being a safety, the communicator on defense, of going back and sometimes watching the film of all these we used to call gadget plays that a team would run and trying to see what would make sense against the defense we ran and what they might pull out. They have so many that they've done, because usually you study these over the last few years because there's not many of them. Detroit runs so many of them, it's so hard to get a beat on it. And I think what Coach Flores used to always tell us, you have some tendencies, but at the end of the day, read your keys and read the play out. And I think that's what Minnesota's going to have to do. You're going to have to read your keys. I think one of the biggest things you're going to have to be aware of guys like Jameson Williams, of guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, when they're in motion or they're doing something that it looks a little funky, be aware. And one of the biggest things I would say is Minnesota plays a lot of zone defense in the secondary. You have to be aware of keeping your leverage on the football. You see the hook and lateral. You get a guy who catches the ball, the outside guy. You got to open your eyes up a little bit and see the bigger picture as you're going in to make the tackle of, hey, it's a 3rd and 18, a 3rd and 20, something like that, of if they throw a ball that only goes 6 yards, hey, we're in pretty good shape. Let's make sure we see everything and not just attack, because those are the times they come up with some of these plays of, hey, it looks like you got us. It's 3rd and 2 long. We're just going to convert, maybe get a little bit of yards, and then boom, you see somebody else come, and it creates a big play. So I think those might be some of the coaching points in the Minnesota defensive room this week. But again, I'll keep going back to this. When you play a team in your division, there's just not as much of a fear of going into that game as other teams might have, because you've talked about this over and over again. Guys are hearing the same coaching points again. It's not the first time that they've heard it. And again, I believe as a defense that gives you a little bit of an advantage, and it's on both sides. Even for Detroit, as banged up as they are, they've talked about how to play Justin Jefferson. Maybe you haven't had as much success as you want, but you've heard how you want to play over and over again. That helps you a little bit.
Last week they played twice in 3 weeks. Last year, they played twice in 3 weeks. This year, an 11-week break between games. And you said something that really caught my ear, because if playing a team that has a propensity for trick plays forces a defense, in order to handle the situation properly, to really focus on their keys, does that actually help a defense to be even more focused on their keys, or can you be too focused? Can you be so focused that he who hesitates is lost, and you're waiting and you're focusing instead of doing, if that makes any sense?
It's such a unique balance. And I think one of the things that coaches always try to have their finger right on is which guys can handle me kind of what we would call sometimes over-coaching of what I just said, seeing the bigger picture and doing, like, which guys can handle that? You know, like, I talked to Brian Flores when I was down there at some point this season, and he talked about Blake Cashman being the guy who gets this whole thing running, how important he is to the defense. He's going to have more on his plate this week. A guy like Harrison Smith, a veteran safety who's been out there over and over again in the NFL, he's going to have more on his plate this week. Like, guys like that are the guys that you say, hey, remind guys to read their keys, but know exactly who to say it to, and not try to just beat the whole team and whole defense down with what Detroit can do. Some of those guys you got to say, hey, man, you're one of our better players. Go play ball. Go be disruptive. Go cause chaos. Go blow some of these plays up that we don't even know might be coming. Just go be aggressive. And some of your guys that you count on to be your cerebral guys out there, your guys that are I won't say more prepared, but can handle more of what you might see as a coach on the field, you want those guys to really be locked into those things, because, again, like you said, you start harping too much of what Detroit could do on offense. Next thing you know, you got guys moving out there like robots trying to read, and you can't have that. Football's a physical game. You blow up a lot of plays by just going and punching somebody in the mouth, and you need guys playing with that attitude, especially on defense, more than anything. So you gotta really understand your team and how to play them, and what to say and what not to say at a lot of times.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.